started. Hello and welcome. Good morning. Very pleased to have you join us today, and thank you for sharing your time to listen to some incredibly valuable information. My name is Gabriel Rojas, the 2020 Global Business Council Chair, along with my co-chair, Sunny Chan, who's on the call. As we get ready to start the webinar, I did want to take a moment to address the protocol for the meeting. All Zoom viewers are on mute throughout the entire presentation. That said, some of you may be using your phones to call into the presentation today. If you're one of those people, please make sure to put your phone on mute and the Zoom presentation screen on mute so we don't have any unnecessary interruptions. Thank you for that. Questions are going to be asked throughout the presentations through the Q&A box that's in the bottom of your screen, slightly to the right. You can set up your questions throughout the entire presentation, but please know that those questions won't be answered until the presentation is complete. So we will get to those once we reach that period in our presentation. If your question is not answered to your satisfaction, you are going to have the option of being able to contact today's presenter by phone or email after we're completed today. Just on a personal note, I just want to say that our speaker today, Teresa Grobecker, I know her both professionally and as a friend personally, one of the most intelligent, dynamic, and driven human beings that walks the face of the earth. I'm so blown away by the things that she does and how well she does them. Teresa is an international real estate technologist, investment banker. Mind blown there. She's the founder of Consortia, which is tokenized the world's largest asset class, which is real estate. She created San Francisco's very first 100% online brokerage and is an equity partner in an international investment bank. So if you're not impressed by those things, I don't know what would impress you. But she's a friend, she's a trusted colleague, and I want to turn it over now to Teresa.
Thank you so much, Gabe. My gosh, that lady you introduced sounds amazing. Great to meet her. So happy to be here addressing everyone. Thank you, Gabe, for inviting me on. Gabe was actually with me, I think, the evening that I made equity partner in an investment bank. So you'll always be like part of a very special memory in my heart, in my head. So yes, all he said is true. And there's a lot that's going on in technology right now. And COVID, of course, is pushing us even further into this space where we need to know what's going on with technology and rely on technology to run our businesses. So first of all, I just want to say that I did what I did to start Consortia for the benefit of the realtor. There's a lot of hype that's out there about what blockchain is and that it's going to like take over our jobs. And I just want everyone to know right from the start that my job and my commitment into the industry is to make sure that I protect the realtor and I keep us in the middle of the transaction. I'm third generation real estate and I have two little boys who are great at real estate. So I am really diehard about making sure that we protect this industry and that we do what's right for our clients, first and foremost. So what we did about a couple years ago is we took all of residential real estate in the United States and we put it onto our private patent pending and now award-winning blockchain. And what it is, it's an identifier for every piece of property. So if you've ever done real estate, say in multiple cities or multiple states, you'll know that certain parts of our data is just different, right? We might have 123 Main Street here in San Francisco and 123 Main Street in the North Bay, name a city, right? So it was just a way to clean up our data records. And then somewhere along the line, NAR kind of heard about what we had created. And so we became part of the NAR portfolio of companies. Consortia has one investor and it's NAR so far. So along the way, like last year, May, it was a totally different world, right? I was at the semi-annual convention and people from all over the world were coming up to me and they were saying, we really need this as a solution internationally. And it took me about 6 months, as good ideas take. I am not the smartest person in the room ever. So it takes me a while to understand what people are saying to me. And so I realized finally that this platform is good for sending each other referrals. That was the first thing that NAR quietly asked us to build, is just kind of one umbrella contract where we can all send each other referrals and have it tracked, because blockchain is really just it's a database that tracks information. So we built that for the industry, and we give that away for free right now. And the next thing that I realized kind of right around the holidays was this idea of, if you're going to send a referral to someone, right? And this, I should probably scroll to my next screen. I'm in between two different cameras right now, so forgive me if I look like I'm looking away. The problem with international is we want to trust our colleagues in other countries, right? This is the global community that I'm talking to here at SPAR today. The problem is we really want to trust each other. In our heart of hearts, that's how realtors are. That's how we operate. We're all about sending each other business. The issue is that there's a lack of transparency. So once the referral leaves my desk as a broker, I really don't know. I don't know if it's going to close. I don't know what's going on. So the way that we can really close the loop on this system is to have a platform where everyone can track the flow of money. And that is through an escrow service. So when we don't trust each other in the business, or what happens is, if I'm going to send somebody business, or if I'm going to go into a contract somewhere else in the world, I'm just going to wire them 20% of the deposit. In a lot of countries, we don't have a neutral third party that collects the escrow. So what if the deal goes sideways? How do you claw back your money? What's the legal system that's going to oversee how the rest of the transaction is fixed? And on a lot of times, going for the legal recourse is too expensive and convoluted of a process where it's just not worth it. So our clients are going to have to walk away from this process, or walk away from their deposit. I'm seeing Sunny saying that you can only see my photo. There is one camera that should be on. And if not, you're not missing anything, I guarantee you. So, so here we go. The solution, I'm going to keep going with the slides, is the solution is a neutral third party that's combining all kinds of best in breed solutions. And those are solutions that we have here stateside that we take advantage of, really, we take for granted. Like, we have escrow here. In certain states, we have notary, we have attorneys, right, who are doing this for us. In attorney states, like on the East Coast, that's really prevalent. We have transaction coordinators who are overseeing the whole process. In the United States, we have all kinds of technology providers who give us these platforms where we can track the transaction from start to finish. And then we have a standard of practices, usually, where we all agree upon, okay, this is how we're going to go through steps A through Z in this transaction. These are all the contingencies. And then we have a way to track all of the data. And the United States really has created a great process through all of the thought leaders and the brokers for decades who have been refining this. My sister taught me everything I know in the industry. She was in real estate for 30 years. She was a lot older than me. So I give a lot of homage to the people who created this excellent system that we have. And so the result is we've taken a lot of these best of breed solutions and we've brought them into consortia. And the goal here is to build trust between our client and us, and then the clients on both sides of the deal. It's to protect our clients' funds, first and foremost. Protecting their financial investments is what we get hired to do. And then to generate more referral business. So as we gain this trust from our clients, right, it comes back to us. And it's going to come back to us either as the client saying, you know, I'm going to refer this agent, or it could be another agent in another country that says, you know what, I really enjoyed working with Gabe. Gabe protected my client's assets and he was super transparent. He referred me into the system. I am going to go ask Gabe for a referral, or I'm going to give Gabe a referral. And it just, the prosperity really breeds off of itself when we have more trust. So here we go. These are some of our partners. Like I mentioned, we became part of the NAR portfolio of companies through Reach, which is Second Century Ventures. It's their venture capital arm. It's the second largest prop tech fund in the world. And then through my connections as an investment banker at US Capital Global, I've been able to pass certain hurdles with financial institutions. And that's another slide actually that I'll show. Our partners. So by understanding capital markets, I've been able to get approved with these high-level accounts to facilitate global escrow services. So that's how we're able to do this, really, is that bridge between real estate and financial markets. So when we're talking about the services that we offer to our clients at Consortia, the question that I get asked a lot is, who are the parties? Like, is blockchain going to get rid of all the people in the transaction? And I believe that blockchain is a service that we use, right? It's just a way to aggregate data, just like our iPhones, right? Our iPhones run on databases. I have no idea how those databases work, but I use my phone and I call humans. So in the same way the escrow service that Consortia has, we utilize all the people who are native to the transaction. So that's the agents, the brokers who represent, if a country has agents and brokers, right? It's the principals of the transaction, of course, keeping them in the center of the transaction. Notary attorneys are invited, of course. The lenders, the inspectors, anyone who is native to the transaction in any given country is invited into the transaction. And then we help them with the transaction management. Consortia can handle foreign exchange in varying degrees in 180 different countries. And then also through my real estate brokerage experience, as a broker, I was the first broker in California to be able to move unlimited amounts of cryptocurrency into fiat currency. So fiat is just a fancy word for any kind of state-sanctioned currency, like a US dollar, Great British Pound, Chinese yuan, like RUN. So these, we're able to move any kind of financial currency, basically, through this process. So we have a transaction software that we use, and it's something that NAR is promoting quietly. It's one of their preferred ones. We're able to reconcile everything to an event ledger. The thing about blockchain, and I'll just geek out for a second, everybody talks about blockchain as being immutable. So once something goes to the ledger, it can't be changed. And that's a great thing because we're able to record and have a solid record. On the other hand, what if something is incorrect, right? That's the great fear because humans make mistakes. And in my practice, I just want to know where the mistake or event occurred. I want to have a conversation about it. So before we record to the immutable ledger, we have a conversation. And let me actually back up. So the technology that we use, that we created, that we just won an award for, we use the Real Estate Standards Organization's protocol for recording events that tie to a property. So if you've ever gone into the MLS and you've said, I'm going to enter this as a listing, this is the date, this is the amount we're going to list for, these are the details of the property. In 1 week from now, I'm going to go and change it from a live listing to pending contract. And then I'm going to update the status as we go. That's how I would think about Consortia, is we're recording the events that tie to a piece of property. Because property only gets its value when we say an event happened with the property. And that could be a financial event, it could be someone buying the property, it could be someone refinancing it or making improvements to the property. So we track events. So what we're doing in this process as we go through escrow, let's go back to this escrow service. We're going to go survey everyone who's part of the escrow and say these contracts, these escrow instructions are all true and accurate. And if everyone votes and says, yes, this is true, and I authorize this contract to go to closing and for money to be dispersed, then we disperse the money according to the instructions we receive. It's just like how you would call your local, or the broker, right? Signs the broker demand and says that to escrow. It just doesn't exist at a global level for the most part, except for like at a handful of different countries where they have escrow. So now we're bringing this as a service to the international community. So once there's mutual consent between all parties, then funds are dispersed. So this is a snapshot of an example of the different events that we're tracking. This should look pretty custom because this is modeled after best practices that we follow. What I love the most about San Francisco is there is no other city in the world that has like the best in breed protocols of how to do a real estate transaction. And it's what I'm probably the proudest about saying when I go out on the road and I go speak at NAR events is San Francisco really knows what it's doing. And my hat is off to all the brokers who have built this up as a profession in our city. So we've taken those best of breed solutions, we've documented them, We've put them into this platform. We use Transactly. Transactly works within the Consortia platform and our blockchain solution. So you can see here, we go through, the first thing that we do is we make sure that all the parties are good actors, because we don't want to be moving money for bad actors or terrorists, right? So then we confirm the fees that we're going to have to charge for moving the money in the escrow process. So that's like foreign exchange. If we've ever traveled, you go to the desk, you have to find out the fees and the rates. So that's what we figure out. We figure out which route we're going to take this. Is this going to be foreign exchange, or is this just going to be, for example, in the Eurozone? Are we just talking about euros to euros? So then we price the deal accordingly. This is that if you're going to send business into Consortia, there is a way to get a referral fee, of course, for sending in the business and making this a referral. So then we gather all the documents. We have a signed contract that we give to the contract that explains our duties and our fees. We gather the documents. We coordinate the deposit. We document, of course, the timeline, the deadlines for the deal to make sure everything's on track. And then we work with all those parties. So whether it be the attorney or the agents or their assistants. And then we send out that final audit where we survey to everyone and would say, these are all the documents. Yes, I agree. These are all true and accurate. We record that to blockchain, and then we disperse the funds accordingly. So that's our audit process, and that's how we document. These are our trusted partners. So these are best in breed solutions. So AFEX is for foreign exchange. I know this is really big for Gabe. Gabe's always said we got to figure out foreign exchange for the global community. So this is where we do it. We have a direct connection into their New York office. BitPay, same thing. So BitPay is for cryptocurrency. We have clients who want to move that. I will say cryptocurrency is not a super hot area, because when cryptocurrency hit like $20,000 for a blockchain, for a Bitcoin, excuse me, and then it dropped, a lot of people said, just hold your position, don't liquidate, don't trade out of it. So some people want to go after that community. I will say that the culture in the Bitcoin community is just to hold your assets and not to sell. So as far as like prospecting and marketing as an idea, I wouldn't focus a lot on that area, just because of the culture within the blockchain crypto community. But if someone does want to liquidate part of their position, we're happy to help with that. And then Chase, we have direct access into their wire department and their treasury department, depending on how large of a transaction that we're talking about. So at the end of the day, what we've done is we've centralized all of the data that's part of a transaction. We keep it confidential. And I think this is probably really important to understand, is that Consortia is a private blockchain. So the events that happen on the Consortia platform are private and permissions based only. And this is where it becomes really important that like I am able to wear the broker hat, right? The compliance hat for us, and say, you know, there's a lot of talk in the blockchain community. Everybody wants to share information. That's kind of the culture. But I say, no, 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 there's a big thing called consumer protection, right? And we have to follow those laws. And I think that's what makes the Consortia story so credible and so true and so honest, right? We have to protect what's private is private. What is public can remain public. Like if you ever go to county records and you see the public data, of course, that's public. But if it's our clients' information, financial information, has to stay private. So then we let you know that it's tracked through secure encryption. Our database is incredibly secure. We work on that constantly. That's probably the most secure part of my life, is the Consortia platform. And that's intentional. We make sure that that's protected. So this is our information if you want to get in touch with anyone from the firm. So I have an open door policy. You can always text or email me. And then Carla Perez, she is our amazing Global Escrow Service Coordinator. Carla has many years in transaction coordination here stateside. And I was introduced to her by a dear friend of mine in San Francisco. And so she is heading up Global Escrow Services. And that kind of concludes it for my quote unquote slides. Happy to answer any questions that the audience has.
Well, Teresa, first of all, thank you so much for that information. Really incredibly valuable. I think our conversations the last couple of weeks in preparation for today's event, we did talk a lot about the security of our clients' money. how important it is using blockchain. And I think in an event like what we're going through now, with so many unscrupulous people that are, trying to fish or scam people, it's even more important now than ever. So thank you again for all of that. We have a question here in our box from Craig, who wanted to know who is accountable in the blockchain world. And I'm not sure if I understand that question personally, but maybe you could answer that for us. Who is accountable in the blockchain world?
So I can only speak for Consortia. So Consortia uses best in breed encryption services. And so we stand behind our code and our technology. We only partner with the highest level and most secure service providers, whether that be like AWS, and then you saw our financial partners. So we take security very seriously, and it's why we're being hired and going through different proposal processes for even more secure customer and financial data to be able to protect. We follow GDPR, which is the one in Europe, which is consumer protection rules there. And then we also follow CCPA, which is consumer protection in California. And California really is at the highest level of consumer protection at this point, and we're kind of the testing center for how the rest of the country is going to protect consumer information for the rest of the country.
Thank you for that. Sonny wrote in asking, do you see any kind of international real estate market trend since the start of COVID?
So it's really interesting is that whereas people used to fly everywhere to see each other, we clearly are not doing that right now. How that changes is going to be really fascinating to watch. Like the next big conference that is planned is like, for example, it's FIAPSI, which is the International Federation of Real Estate. And that one is supposed to be in Cairns, I think, in March of next year. Who's actually going to go to that? I can't say right now. It's really interesting. Like in my heart of hearts, I really want to believe that I'm on a plane going there. But what if there isn't critical mass of other people? Is it worth it to go, right? These are real business opportunity questions that we have to ask ourselves. So in the absence of flying and seeing people and like looking in their eyes and like kind of like seeing like what's their heart rate, like where do they, they're telling me the truth about who they are, that kind of thing. It's really more important than ever to have systems in place to protect our own reputation, our clients' money, right? And to build up these networks in a virtual way where we can build trust. So these are definitely trends that I'm seeing right now. I never would have guessed that Consortia was going to launch. I always knew Consortia would launch into a recession just because where we were cyclically in a real estate cycle, right? I never envisioned it would be like this, right? And it is just really interesting how timely all of this is for us, for the industry, and to be able to provide this as a service.
Interesting. Yeah, very timely indeed. If there's any other questions, folks, feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A box just on the bottom, slightly right of middle. Otherwise, we may wrap up a little bit earlier than planned, but Teresa has the last slide of her presentation with her contact information available. It's also in the chat section if you want to copy and paste her email or phone number. One thing that I find particularly interesting is just how big the world of virtual touring is going right now. What California is doing to allow or ban the use of actual open houses. When a property is occupied, still not being able to do those things. Using photography, the 3D photography systems now, they're really fancy, they're really cute. Now all of a sudden overnight, it's like, I have to have that setup. So it's really interesting in that regard too. Could you go back for a second about crypto? I don't know if you saw, but I did write you a message privately. Crypto is a bit volatile. And as someone who actually does invest in crypto myself, I mean, my values have just been all over the place. The one thing that I think about when using crypto for any purchasing of any kind will the value be there in an hour from now, the next day? And could you kind of address like how people are protected if there are changes, especially large fluctuations in value?
So if they're going to use their crypto to be able to purchase real estate, is that
Real
what
estate,
you're saying?
sure. Yep.
Yeah. So BitPay is backed by Richard Branson and a ton of like billionaires. They created this system, and this is why we use BitPay is because when you go into the contract, they'll lock in that price. So you have this conversation with them, like saying, okay, Gabe wants to move $1 million from his crypto portfolio into real estate. So we keep an eye, right, like as good investors do, of when to lock that price in. And then once that price is locked in, BitPay absorbs any fluctuation to the downside. And now this is where they make their spread, and they're very clever, right? If the price also goes up, they take that spread. But on the, to your benefit, if the price then tanks, they've picked up that volatility, and that risk is no longer on the consumer.
Well, that's amazing, first of all. So, because as my wheels are turning, I'm thinking, well, maybe my crypto just goes into an account and then that's just what I have value wise to the dollar, let's use.
Yeah, so it
Okay,
moves
so
from
that's
your
really,
wallet. It moves from your wallet, right? If we're going to get into the weeds
yep.
about crypto, right? It
I
moves from
basically
your
got
wallet.
cashing it in.
Yeah, you're essentially cashing it in, and it goes into an escrow account with BitPay, and it gets converted in that process into a fiat currency, which is usually dollars in this case, but they can move it to other currencies as well. And if we have to layer on like a secondary conversion into a different currency, say if it's not euros or dollars and you want to go to something more, as they call it, exotic, which is kind of funny to me, but a more exotic currency, like even like the Korean won, right? I'm Korean. So that's considered an exotic currency. We can do that as well. So it'd just be a multi-step process. That first part of it is just locking in the price and making sure that you don't get any negative swings to the conversion for the purchase.
Understood. Have you seen any surging in illegal activities? More wire fraud than ever, more scams happening at this
Funny
time?
you should say that. Yes, I have. And right now, I think that's going to run rampant because although the banks are overwhelmed with SBA and PPA, so the bank's attention is on fielding these like millions and millions of applications for all these, for this bailout money from either customers or from businesses, whoever it is. And that attention is duly needed in those areas. On the other hand, it's all hands on deck for these banks to like pay attention to those applications that are coming through. So I think there are even more scammers that are out there who are trying to move these wires. And I've seen it with my own eyes where I'm just like, you got to be kidding me, guys. Like, that's clearly not clean money. And it's just a matter of being able to identify that. This is where being able to sit between capital markets for so many years and real estate, I can sniff that stuff out pretty well. The more clever people are still going to push for some tricky things, but I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of trusting your gut, right? And then also knowing like the technical flags that might tell us, hey, this is funny business and we don't want to be part of it. And this is how we're going to protect our clients.
Thank you. And I was going to ask, what are the red flags? What would you suggest people be looking for?
The one thing that I want to say to protect yourself is this is a relationship built business, right? And this is why I'm so happy to do this call with my trusted colleagues in San Francisco, in our global community. What I love the most is that if Gabe sends me business, I trust Gabe. If somebody here, we know each other, we're saying this is a client, I know them, tell me the story, right? Tell me the story of how you know this person, how they came to your desk, right? And I think that's like the first thing that we can do to protect ourselves and protect our clients. Where did this person come from? Can I find them online? Who are their friends? Are their friends connected to my friends? Which is really funny because we're talking about this like cutting edge technology. And at the end of the day, it's human to human. It's who do I know and why do I trust you? And it's a matter of building our networks that way. From there, as far as like red flags, there's a whole host of them. You know, I've done anti-money laundering training ever since I was in my very early 20s. So there are just so many flags to start looking for. I think the one thing that I've always seen is the more complicated somebody wants to make the deal, the more I'm like, why are we overcomplicating? Like, it's like, I have a house to sell, you have money for the house. This is why I want to live there. Cool, right? If it becomes much more intricate, then I'm like, my spider senses start going up.
Yeah, yeah, good point. I think on a consumer level too, you know, some obvious things like the unemployment office, the IRS, they don't call you. They answer the phone, oh, this is the IRS. Right then and there, you got to know this is not legit. People get scammed all the time. But on such a huge platform like buying real estate, it's so great to know that you have those services to offer. So thank you for that. We have another question, Teresa, from Sunny, who is asking for an quote unquote international buyer that has funds in different currency. Can you handle transactions using multiple currencies?
Yeah, of course we can. That's a great question. So that speaks to like the highest level consumer that we're going to know. People, especially in people overseas, right? They want to be able to hedge their risks. So it's just like here in the United States, where every bank has a certain limit on how much they insure their money. So it's just like diversifying your portfolio, right? If you're in the stock market or with any kind of asset. This is super common in the very affluent communities, right? Is that they're going to split their assets and have business interests in a lot of different places. So it's just a matter of getting a list of what they want to do, what those assets are, how much we're converting, and then we price out each tier based on the currency exchange rate and what the cost is going to, what it's going to take to complete that deal. We organize it all, and we can definitely handle that. I completely understand the mindset of that kind of consumer and why they're doing that. So yes.
Okay. Well, Teresa, we have no upcoming questions right now for you, but I do encourage everyone in attendance today to please reach out to Teresa, who is just an incredibly valuable resource. And we can't thank you enough, Teresa, for joining us today. Thank you so much for your talents, your time, and all this incredible information. I also want to just send out a big thank you to Genevieve, everyone at SFAR offices who have just done an exceptional job in putting on these events for us, these meetings, virtual meetings. Without your help, Jen and the whole crew, none of this is possible. It's just a crazy time, guys. I hope to be able to not only see you all very soon, but those of you who I'm friends with, give you a big giant hug. I don't know if that has to be from a distance. We'll figure it out together. And that's what we're valuable about this family of realtors and professionals in real estate. We are truly family. We are going to survive this, and love and miss you all. Teresa, hold on. We've got one last question. Might have been all my jabbering, boring stuff that encourage people. Do you have an interest-bearing account in foreign currency trust account? Do you have an interest-bearing account in foreign currency trust account?
No, I do not have interest-bearing. And I think the reason that I don't do that is because California law, for any deposits that we have as a broker, we cannot provide interest-bearing. So again, this is me just taking best practices from the world that governs me here locally. Excuse me, allergies. Is that I have never provided interest-bearing because of those laws. It's a good point. No, I don't. There's too much volatility, just like what Gabe was saying about cryptocurrency. Certain fiat currencies also are subject to big swings in volatility. So I don't know that I'd be comfortable with those, with an interest-bearing account like that, but contact me offline if you have ideas for that, because as any good professional should, I'm always learning and growing and developing. So depending on what the client need is, I can understand, like if it was a development project that was going to take, you know, in the investment banking world, we're looking at projects that are several years or like 12, 18 months out. So if you can tell me the use case and there's a like a business reason for that kind of an account, then tell me what you need, educate me, and I'll see what I can do.
Thank you so much. Um, okay, guys, let me give you 10 seconds to throw up some more questions. And if not, we'll wrap it up for the day. Hopefully you guys can get out for a walk and enjoy some of this nice weather we're having. Uh,
I just want to thank Gabe so much. Gabe, it's really awesome that you asked me to come on here. I'm super honored to be able to share whatever I know in this space. And Genevieve, I want to echo what Gabe said. I mean, thank you so much to everything that you and SFAR are doing. It's incredible. I mean, last week was the Rezo convention, and as I'm listening to everyone at the national level talk about data, I'm just going, wow, like San Francisco is doing so much for the realtors and for our clients. And to protect the value of real estate here in San Francisco. So like just so much gratitude to how hard you guys are working to make sure that we figure this out. We totally learned a lot in like 2008, right, about protecting the price of homes. And so just super grateful to everything that the San Francisco community is doing. So thank you guys.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think some of us don't realize the value of, you know, just how powerful and educated we are as an association. We're so fortunate to be working in this environment. And again, major disasters around the world, you know, dips in the economy, et cetera. We're still all family. We're going to get through this and probably some other things as we, you know, keep working over the years. But thank you all again, folks, for coming in and sharing your time to learn today. Teresa, thank you so very much. We hope to have you on again some other time. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. Take
Thank
care of
you guys.
yourself, be safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll all see each other in person very soon.
So, yeah, thank you.